Welcome everybody to the Backlash podcast, episode 6. I'm Eric. This is Scott. How are you, Scott?
That's me. I'm good.
Thank you everyone for the continued support and checking us out. Remember, we're on Facebook and Twitter. Come check us out. And make sure to subscribe on YouTube for our ongoing podcast series, upcoming deck reviews, and some surprises.
And you put our matches from tournaments on there.
Yeah, all of our tournament matches are generally on there. Post Barry Wrestling events on there as well. So let's start this off with what's been going on around the web. What we do here is look at Team Canada Online, Facebook, YouTube, anywhere where there's raw deal content, and highlight it here. So first of all is the SoulCal Raw Deal Facebook page. It is a great resource for virtual cards. Yeah. What they do is they have albums for every superstar and put every card in there. It's a great printing tool, and it shows what sets everything's come out in. Do you use it at all, Scott?
Not a lot. I follow it, so whenever Tony posts, I see them all. But
I know a few guys locally, they'll use that instead of the Superstar Guide on TCO.
Yeah, that's what I use since you showed me that. It's so easy to use.
I don't like the bandwidth usage on the Facebook loading every image. Yeah, but what I do now is if I need to print off any Superstar cards, I just go there rather than going through the virtual files and cherry picking that way.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
But I recommend it to anyone, especially if you need to reference what set a card came out in, because in the image description they'll be like, hey, this is a support card that came out in 6 for a superstar that came out in 5. Mm-hmm. Or 6 actually had no support cards, but the idea is there.
You get them.
That's it. There was a pretty good rules question that came up, because we had differing opinions on it.
Yes, yeah.
So according to the contract table, so the effect is you name a card, and then this card becomes that card until beginning of your next turn. The question was, is it an activated card effect? Can you don't try this at home? Can you reverse it? I was of the mind that you can, because the cost is I'm naming a card.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm naming a card for this card effect. Can you respond to it? And then you were like, no.
Yeah, I said that's not a cost because you're not paying to do something, you're just doing it. Mm-hmm. So like, we went to the FAQ and like, based on the first description of an ace, yes it's an ace, but on the second line it said no it's not an ace because there's not a cost. Mm-hmm. So it was just one of those weird cards that was printed before aces were reversible, I believe, and then never got reprinted in Survivor Series 3 or something, so it kind of falls in that, well, it is what we say it is, right? We just gotta go by what an ace is, and
I'm happy for that ruling, though, because it sets a precedent for upcoming effects that they can borrow from that, because now it's a discussion topic. It's like, okay, this is a mechanic we may want to revisit in the future.
Yeah.
I like the idea. I like the card. It's just a matter of making it work for like JR style clubbering. No, damn. What's the JR style hat trick?
Oh yeah.
Getting that if you're running like a scalded dog. Yeah. Or like the diva win condition. Yeah. And there's a lot of things you can do with that card.
Mm-hmm. And I don't mind whether it's ruled an ace or not. Just that it's ruled one way and that we can play that way going forward.
Coming up is June 28th of 2018 in Moline, Illinois, at the Planet Funk Con. They're calling it. It's going to be the biggest Raw Deal tournament of the year. Virtual Classic only. This is, I believe, developed by TCU user Lawnmower Man. He's been pumping it out. And he's going to have Mick Foley is currently planned to present the winner with the tournament championship. Yeah,
they're trying to get a replica championship belt for the winner to present to them. We saw this and we looked at our calendars, and June 28th is a Saturday. We went to Google Maps, looked at how long Illinois is away from us. It's about an 11, 12-hour drive, but we're like, it's a Saturday. If we take the Friday off, we can drive down, stay Saturday and play, drive back Sunday and back to work Monday. It'll be a little bit of an exhausting weekend, but if we fill a car with 4 guys, I think it'd be a great trip to go down and partake in this event.
And what I like about this too is you're only going for this event.
Yeah.
Well, like something like Gen Con, it is a shorter distance to drive, but if I'm going Gen Con, I'm not devoting the whole time to Raw Deal.
And there's 4 different formats, so you gotta prep for 4 different, bring all those cards where, this is Virtual Classic, we can literally just bring one deck we want and go from there.
And it'll be fun. I think it'll be laid back because there's nothing on the line compared to what Gen Con offers.
I don't know, man. It'll be the first time Barry will be playing in the United States outside of me in California that one time. So,
but like, there's a big prize with a belt and with McFoley presenting it and the fanfare. But with Gen Con, you have that World Championship title. You have you can make a card.
Yeah.
So, I mean, differing things. But this is exciting because Virtual Classic is all we play up here.
Yeah.
At least for now.
Yeah, we'll talk about Revolution in a little bit. Yeah.
And then, speaking of Barrie coming down there, if you ever want to come up to Barrie for an event, we have a Facebook group as well where we share all of our events, and it's Ontario Raw Deal. Feel free to join up. We usually just talk about some Raw Deal on there, and there's the occasional wrestling meme posted on there.
Yeah. We mostly use Facebook chat to communicate with each other, but our events are on there. It shows who's coming. The location of the cards that we play at, stuff like that. So, and if other people are in there chatting, we'll chat back. It's that easy, right?
Mm-hmm. And then, only one other thing from TeamCanadaOnline.net is we have some more virtual holiday set, which is Payback.
Only one other thing. This is the most exciting.
This is the most exciting. So, in the last 2 weeks, and including the podcast, we confirmed AJ Styles and Natalya for the set. On Team Canada Online, throughout the various threads, it's been confirmed Bailey and the Good Brothers, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, will be on the set.
Yeah.
So we have 2 superstars to announce. One I think everyone's going to be most excited about, or really excited about, is Braun Strowman.
Yeah.
He's probably one of the newest wrestlers to be on there, to be in a set in a long time, a short wait period. But then everyone is wondering on Team Canada Online, who is this non-contracted superstar? Is it Austin Aries? Is it Bruiser Brody?
I don't think it's Bruiser Brody.
So what we have here is a remake of an existing superstar, and that is the best wrestler in the world, CM Punk. So, interesting choice. Not my first choice for a remake, but he evolved so much as a character from when he was first released in Virtual that they can do, I think, a lot differently with him. Yeah. And it's really dependent, too, on what cards he can pack. I mean, he pretty much kept everything for his support. It was consistent with his development as a character over the years. I just like to see some updated pictures from those long-haired ones. So
they did that in Revolution a little bit, right? Like when he was first released, he was a 7-0 extremist, and then one of his virtual cards gave him a +5 superstar value and said he could play some Tomorrow's WWE Legends because he had moved his way up the ladder, right? So
that'll be cool. So that is 6 superstars announced. So I don't know if there's any more. I know they said there's 1 tag team. So it looks like the Good Brothers are it. And we're to assume it's going to come out Christmas Day.
Yeah.
And that's it for Around the Web. Scott.
Move on to our most recent tournament report. We had 6 local players out. We have about 10 players now. Another looking to come back, so maybe up to 11 eventually. That'd be exciting. But we had 6 come out for this one. It was Virtual Classic. You played Trish Stratus.
Again.
I played Charlotte. We played each other in the first round. It was a very interesting match. We never playtested Trish versus Charlotte before, I don't think. So
no.
First time that happened. I think the card of the game for me was Charlotte's new card backed by Emma.
Oh,
that I get to put into my ring area, and whenever my opponent attempts to play an action, they have to overturn one card first.
Yeah, I was overturning a lot of cards.
With Trish Stratus, you can imagine, that's quite a lot of cards. So you finished with a 3-2 record.
Yep.
Losing to me, and who else did you lose to?
I lost to Jericho, who ended up winning the event.
Oh, yeah.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
Well, after this, I'll put up the interview with the champion. But yeah, 2 of my wins came from Stratosphere.
Yeah.
Playing as an action and as the activated card effect. And my 3rd win, I can't remember where it came from. I don't know. My deck turned out to be more... It was probably a shoot action. It was a backfire, I remember now.
Yeah.
Which was a suggestion from my deck I posted on TCO.
Yeah.
But with your wins, you had a count-out win against me. Who was your other win against?
Yeah, actually, I beat Brock Lesnar, and I did play test against him on Thursday, so a few days before the tournament. And basically, he smashed my face 2 games in a row. So I ended up switching Charlotte from heel to face, just to have once is enough for multi-protection on the first turn, get in product endorsements so I can make sure I have Vince McMahon interferes, because as we've talked about, chain moves are really big up here, and Charlotte packs reverse clotheslines, which reverse any chain maneuver. So to sack Vince into that first turn and get 8 fortitude and do potentially 8 damage is pretty awesome.
Did you get a chance to do that at all this event?
I played that twice this event. One it did the full 8 damage, and one time my opponent had one of the big boys in play, so it only did 1 damage. But it still got me 8 fortitude, and that's more than enough for me. I'm like, okay, cool. I believe our match pretty much went to time, which is why I took the count out.
Yeah, it was like the last minute where it's like...
Yeah, I guaranteed to win, or I could potentially not win. And then I had 3 other matches that also went to time, which were my 3 double losses, I guess you would say. Most of them were... My opponent was probably going to win in the next 5 minutes anyway, so I just gave them the win. We kind of installed a new rule that said, if you feel like you're going to lose anyways, you can give your opponent the win, but that's not mandated or enforced at all. So there were 2 games against Jericho and FBI where too many multis, too much, too fast, and I hung on. I sacked WrestleMania in 1 game, but I just got to time.
Well, how long have you had this deck built for?
I've had Charlotte built since my old house, and I moved in last November, so at least 14 months I've had Charlotte built, and since then she's gone from an 8-hand size down to a 4-hand size, and I switched the deck from heel to face, so she has changed quite a bit in the year, but it's still a pretty consistent deck. I'll probably keep it together just because it's so much fun. I don't know, I don't think you guys hate it that much, but
no.
She does cycle like mad, and she can turtle like crazy. I had to figure out a way to get her to win in 45 minutes, because apparently throwing 16 damage submissions isn't good enough these days.
Yeah, I'm the same way with Trish. Like, she is nasty with that 0 for 3 mid-match reversal that's hitting your ring area.
Yeah.
And then she's just a red wall with the Matrix moves, falling beyond the edge, Revolution of the Mind, just so much. Her specifics are
all of her specifics.
View of the Decade
like
is,
them, yeah.
And it's just, there were 1 games like you had a hard time against FBI.
Yeah.
Where FBI had a hard time against Trish Stratus, because I just stopped everything. Kept stopping it.
FBI has that ignored completely on your reversals. So even though I had once enough, I still had to play 2. And then he kept me off the board. I couldn't get Charlotte's chop through. He had things like, I think he played elbow and then the Trinity card first turn. Second turn he played the numbers game, which completely reverses a multi.
Oh.
And the next turn he sacked it. So 3 turns later, and I'm still at 0, and he's just throwing these big 8D strikes against me.
But fortunately, our game, it was a good game, and we recorded it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll add a link to it. See how quickly
I messed up in the pre-match phase. I didn't use the card effect on the 4 Horsewomen of NXT to make you shuffle random cards and me do the same.
Oh, that would have been a big game changer.
Yeah. a few play errors, because I haven't played this deck in a little bit. I played it twice on Thursday, but I got crushed, so I never really had a good feel for it.
And then speaking of playing on Thursday, you got a chance to reintroduce some Revolution games to the group.
Yeah, Colin and I were playtesting a few Virtual Classic games, and then we're like, hey, I brought some Revo, do you want to try that out? So I have essentially 2 starter decks, Batista and Rey Mysterio, that just have Revo 1 cards in them, and we played a game of that, and it was a little back and forth action. It's a little slower than up to date with Virtual Revolution is, but it was good back and forth fun, and he had a Randy Orton deck that was pretty well still constructed from a few years back, so I gave him a few Virtual 1 Revo cards, and he completed a Randy Orton deck, but we didn't have time to play because all my matches went 45 minutes on the weekend. So we didn't even get time to squeeze in a 10-minute Revo game. I was kind of sad about that, but we talked about Revo as a group and decided it would probably be best to do like a group project to bring it back, where someone just takes the reign, prints 5 copies of the stuff that's come out in Virtual 5 and Virtual 7, and then we're all up to date, all on the same page with the same card pool and that kind of stuff.
I was surprised with the amount of interest that there was with people when you said it's like, hey, Revolution, and like, you know, more people were like, oh yeah, let's do a group thing, and I was like surprised, but I mean, you've been the biggest pusher on Revolution, just like you're the biggest pusher on Virtual in the local player.
Well, again, I was pushing Virtual because Just Classic was getting stale. We played it for 10 years of Just Classic tournaments, and I'm not saying Virtual Classic's getting stale, but it takes time to learn all of the new cards, all the new Superstar specifics, put decks together, and then run a 6-hour tournament once a month.
Yeah,
right?
that's like a big time commitment.
Like all of us, we're getting married, having kids, and that's a lot to commit to every month, where I'm seeing Keith on TCO being like, hey, we ran a whole Revolution tournament in 3 hours. I was like, sign me up. It's still raw deal. It's half the time. It's probably just as much fun. So yeah, I was like, that sounds fun. I think a lot of people can commit 3 hours versus the 6 and the whole day, right? So we'll see. I still like Virtual Classic and still want to play that lots, and even the majority of the time, but yeah, I like the Revo that's just a little bit shorter.
Speaking of playing Virtual Classic, let's cut to that winner's interview from the tournament we just had.
And skipped. Yeah. Sorry, Cam.
Soul send it off over there now.
Thanks, guys. I'm here live at OMG Games with the winner of our round robin Virtual 8 tournament, Cameron Pratt, who's playing a Jericho deck.
The best in the world at what we do.
So, Cam, when was the last time you've updated this deck?
I have not updated this deck in... it's been a while. We did a tournament, and I'd forgotten about it, actually. Had to be last year, I think. Earlier this year?
Well, we started Virtual, I think, earlier this year to begin with.
All right. Well, I don't know how far. We'd have to look it up. I have run it before, but it had been the longest of my decks.
By Scott. This is by Scott, everybody. And so what do you find with Jericho? What do you find the biggest strengths and then the biggest weakness you had today? Although you did go undefeated, there had to have been some weaknesses, but let's hear about the strength of the Superstar first.
Okay. Jericho, at least the way I built it, is heavy on early game advantage. Using their pre-match card is very disruptive. The pre-match swing is a big advantage. And I do run both Premier Raw and SmackDown Superstar. So my strategy was venue Houston, get cards in hand, product endorsements old school psych, make them pitch as they go, lock them out when I can, and use good old-fashioned Vicky Guerrero there to protect the, face stretches and key locks for 12 and as it goes. So they're all about early game advantage, drawing massive opening hands, I run Revos, elbows, because the pre-match card reduces opponents' maneuvers by 2. There's specifics play at 0, so you have the additional 2 Big Show ones, Mountain of a Man, and the 5 Fortitude starter gives you unreversible.
But that's the non-maneuver cards.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? Like you need to be able to keep up with all the crazy things that can go on early on in a Revo game. So big all over now, Mount Never Man, and 500 pounds. Don't You Never Ever and Sanctimonious, the virtual one, the 15 Fortitude, all play at 0, so you can keep. It makes the build a little easier. I ignore all the high fortitude stuff. I'm not running breakdown or anything like that. So it's all about staying in it in the early game and just hope that you can get that one last punch with your face stretch or colossal club and just keep further on the board as much as you can.
And then, were there any close games? What did you find that your deck lacked, or maybe some play errors you may have made that could have, you foresaw like a loss in sight?
I had a couple of games go right down to the wire. Dave's FBI deck ended up in second. We went right down to the end, and he's playing the multi-maneuvers. It really was just a back and forth, and there were so many mechanics going on at the time that we almost ran out of time, which was a bit of an issue because he's playing a lot of WCW, NWO cards rather, and neither of us were familiar enough to just know how that works. We're stopping to read a lot of things, kind of interrupted the flow. The game was on camera, might be a little bit of a drag to watch. Fortitude ended 24-18 for me, and we got that last key lock again, just one more move than the other guy. But and then the opposite problem with Scott's Charlotte deck, never ending. Here comes specifics and figure fours and clotheslines and just sloppy move, stop, whatever, exchange. Just try to win the exchanges. Keep it simple. Play the specifics, at least the low fortitude stuff, and just try to win the exchanges.
So, okay, and sorry.
No, I was trying to think of actual errors. There had to be.
Well, there can't be an error because you have the current store championship on your shoulder. They're going 5-0, clearing the entire crowd today. So our next event's in January. We have the release of Virtual 8. You haven't visited those superstars, and we have the upcoming holiday set with a few announced superstars. Coming into January, who are you going to build, or who are you going to play to defend your title with?
I do have a short list. I just got the V8 printouts last night. I was considering kicking my Lashley deck back around again just because I was unprepared, and Lashley is a good solid go-to. Just technicals till you win. And we had Angle. I was talking about Kurt Angle, and you mentioned Your Freaking Hero. I was unfamiliar with some of the new virtual things that he's done. So I want to visit that and the new APA stuff. I'm an old APA fan. All the new stuff that came out in that last set, I got to see what's going on there. I got my 3 throwback volley discs, and there are specifics, and I'm going to see what's going on there. That's a short list. Lashley, Angle, APA. So we'll see how kind the holiday is for time, and how January goes.
January's, it's busy tail end of the month for everyone here. We were lucky to get 6 people for the event, just considering everything surrounding it. So next event's probably mid-January. See if you could defend the title again.
I'll be here.
Thanks, Scott and Eric. Back to you guys.
And we're back onto the cards of the show segment. Who picked these cards? Did I pick one and you pick one?
We had Colin pick these because he's getting back into the game, and we're like, Colin, what cards would you like to hear us talk about?
Yeah. So
I don't know if this is sending a message to us about this first card because, we usually win events locally.
Yeah. So, don't be a douchebag. That's our first card. He obviously didn't want us to be a douchebag. Yeah. But you'll have the card text up on the screen, so I don't think I should have to read through that card. But it's a must pack. Mm-hmm. It reverses any card with a reversal restriction after ignoring the reversal restriction. Any non-unique maneuver, actually, right?
Yes.
So, it stops cards like Clutch Apply, it stops a lot of the Diva maneuvers, it stops any chain card.
German Suplex. So it stops a lot of good cards. Pump Kick. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much a staple now in every Virtual Classic. It goes into your ring when it's overturned as an applicable reversal, so it gets you 2 Fortitude if you're not on the board yet. That's pretty powerful. And that's permanent. And it also reverses any non-damage card effect.
That's right, yes.
So that's good for...
It really makes it hard to win with things like Backfire and get a look at these.
Tell me
Now
about
that
it.
you have Douchebag, Divine Intervention,
Carlito
says you missed your chance.
Against
4 reversals.
Who
that
was-
a lot of people are packing.
I think it was against Colin's Brock Lesnar deck.
Yeah.
Against my Trish Stratus. I hit 3 of those reversals on my Stratospheres and my backfires, and I'm like, this kind of deck, it's hard.
You know
Like you were saying, it's hard.
You need the original marking out.
That's another subject for it.
You search for 3 cards, you remove them from the game, or put them in ringside, one or the other. It's so old, I don't even remember. I just your face.
Oh, the pre-mat? No, pre-mat. Oh, that's
Someone
13
else know.
Fortitude. And you need stun value?
No, you don't. You
What
just
am
play
I
it.
thinking?
You're thinking of the snow job. Yeah.
Ugh.
But it's 10 for Trish, maybe lower if you play other cards.
I only have one other card higher than that.
Yeah. Anyways, don't be a douchebag. It is a must pack in Virtual Classic. So if you're just getting into Virtual Classic and you only print out 1 card, it's this one in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you can even play it as an action. It cannot be reversed when you have lower Fortitude. You shuffle up to 2 cards from your ringside into your arsenal. And it does 2.
Yeah.
Like, that's good.
I've never seen that played as an action because it's, I think, so much powerful as a reversal.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But if you have
Still
some,
an option.
yes.
Still an option. And it gets 2 Fortitude.
And following the theme of World Champion cards, we have the Road to Victory, which you find is essential to pack in every deck.
There is probably the first card that I put in any Backlash deck. I didn't pack it against Colin. I had it in neither of my decks that I played him with, and he played Atomic Bear Hug against me, and I'm just like... Right, because I mean, you have to play that after a submission or grapple, so you play it after a quick snap or wraparound. You pretty much know it's going through, right? If you get those 2 cards through, so I'm just like... Ugh. And I mean, Road to Victory, it doesn't stop the 7 Fortitude, but it blanks the 7 damage, it ends the turn, which I love doing in Raw Deal.
Well, and you might get that discard effect if you're running against
I
those
played
previous
it in
SmackDown.
every of my 5 games this weekend. I stopped Ready to Fight twice? 3 times? That's a big card in our play area. I stopped the Atomic Bear Hug. And the last one was FBI. Maybe I didn't play it against FBI.
The Jericho deck played 2 fan appreciation days against me. And I don't pack
And you
Road.
don't pack Road to Victory, yeah.
Fortunately, I stopped both, but I'm like, what's your superstar value? He's like 10. I'm like, oh,
Yeah, our play group kind of tosses up between Road to Victory and Backlash. Like, I think you usually pack one of the other, and I don't think many people pack both, but there's been great debate in our play area whether which one to pack.
I had a great situation where discovering your reach exceeds your grasps reverses actions.
Oh, yeah. Anything that's
Yeah.
over the Fortitude that you have.
I can't remember. Oh, I played it against Ready to Fight.
Mm.
And then what's great about it is it says return to your hand. Well, he can't return it to his Backlash deck, so
Yeah,
he's losing
yeah.
the card.
Are you sure? Versus any non-unique card?
Any non-superstar specific, non-unique card with printed superstar value greater than their superstar value,
Huh.
or any multi-volley card. You don't believe me? You're looking this
I'm typing this up. While I'm typing this up, let me tell you a story. I brought some Timbits to Raw Deal. And
What are Timbits?
In Canada, they're called Timbits. Eric comes over and he goes, "Oh, look, a donut hole." So I guess that's what they're called in the rest of the world. In the States, they're called donut holes. But I'm just like, that doesn't make any sense. Why would you call it a donut? Like, a hole, by definition, is lack of something, isn't it? Like,
Yes.
You don't call, like, a hole in the ground is a hole because there's no dirt in it. You don't call a sandcastle a sand hole because it's a sandcastle. You can't call it a donut hole.
This reminds me of a joke, actually. So a man builds a room. He builds himself into the room.
Okay.
No doors, no windows. He's got a floor and a ceiling.
Yeah.
All he has is a plank of wood and a saw. How does he get out?
How?
So he cuts the piece of wood in half, puts the 2 halves together, he gets a hole.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I haven't found it yet, but whatever, we had some fun.
You can't find reach exceeds your grasp.
I even Reverse any non-superstar specific card. Huh.
See?
So printed forward 2 greater. So I could hit anything against you, Trish. I could play it against anything. All of your actions that are -3 from your ability, right?
Yes, but I can blank my ability, which actually cost me a game.
Blanking your ability.
I didn't blank it.
Oh.
So her mid-match reversal lets me put any number of cards from my opponent's ringside pile on the bottom of his arsenal.
Yep.
Which is to get around volley this.
Yep.
So I had 1 fortitude off overrated superstar, 3 off the reversal. I have few heal men in my hand.
Yep.
I know my opponent has volley this in his hand. So I'm like, okay. I put his ringside pile back, draw for my turn, and I'm like, I should have blanked my ability. Because he had 1 Backlash deck card in his ringside pile, few heal men's 1 fortitude.
Yeah.
Doing that would have let me rip up the volley this and just go
to
do
town.
a killer on him, and then that cost me the game I felt.
That's it.
So yeah, so those are the cards of the show.
Yeah, after a few tangents and some fun stories and jokes in the damn donut holes, that pretty well wraps up our show for this
That's
week.
the donut hole show there.
Yeah. We'll be back in 2 weeks around Christmas. We have a Christmas surprise. I think that's the idea.
I don't know, but I mean...
Anything can happen.
Hey, you know what? If you happen to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Eric
RD.
RD, just look at Eric RD, or just look up Raw Deal, and I'm everywhere on there.
Because we're the #1 Raw Deal content creators in the
Number
world!
So, if you happen to check Christmas Day, you might find something there.
To go along with the...
I don't know.
new cards that come out on TCO, right? The 2 surprises. Wouldn't that be awesome? 2 extra gifts on Christmas for your Raw Deal friends.
Here's hoping Santa's good to us.
Yeah, I hope Santa's good to us.
But for the Backlash podcast, I'm Eric.
I am Scott.
And
see you next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, Christmas. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.